right.
It is
It's
5:30.
We will go in 3 seconds.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Poppy Hour. This is our monthly Zoom conversation about California native plants, and we're thrilled to have you all here on this very moody and cloudy winter night here in California. A little bit jealous of all that snow everyone on the East Coast is getting. But my name is Erin Johnson, and I am the outreach manager at the Theodore Payne Foundation for Wildflowers and Native Plants. And today we're going to be talking about birds and California native plants. And we're thrilled to be joined by our guest, Day Scott. And before we jump in, we are going to start with a plant. This is probably a plant that is familiar to many of you. And as you can see by the lack of berries on my plant, it has been a very popular food source for the birds in my backyard. There's only like 4 berries left on this thing, and it had like 100 or more. And this is it's beloved by songbirds, but also one of my absolute favorite plants. This is, of course, toyon, also known as Christmas berry. And not only do the birds eat the berries, but they also get a poppy hour buzz from eating them, which I will explain in a second. But just to give you, I know you can only see a chunk of this plant, but to give you an idea of its actual scale, it's an evergreen shrub that can be pruned up into a small tree or a hedge. It's an evergreen, drought tolerant, just absolute wonderful component of any garden. It's also pretty adaptable to different soils. It likes full sun, but can also tolerate some shade. So all around fantastic plant. I'll show you a close up here of the leaves. These evergreen leaves, it has these like beautiful serrated edges here. And so in the summer, it has these huge clusters of white flowers that are just magnets for our local pollinators. And then those turn into berries in the fall and winter. And before they are actually ripe, they are full of poisonous cyanide, which then the chemical compounds ferment. And that's when they become food for the birds. And if they happen to gorge themselves on this plant, they might get a little bit tipsy. So cheers to all of you, and cheers to the birds.
Cheers.
And this is also the official plant of Los Angeles. It was named the official plant in 2012, which is pretty cool. And also a great firewise plant, and it was introduced into cultivation by Theodore Payne himself. So that, yeah, it's a wonderful. I was also a toyon plant for Halloween. Fun
Yeah,
fact.
you were. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Erin. We'd also like to say cheers to our anonymous sponsors that are making Poppy Hour possible. Thank you. If you're watching, we don't know who you are, but we love you. And upcoming events, we will be closed Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So keep those days in mind. We are open for in-person shopping, but please make an appointment online. I think that's all of the events that we have coming up. Flora is here to talk about some of the California bird-friendly plants that we have. And let's start talking about the Pacific Flyway. So the Pacific Flyway is, along the Pacific and the mountain ranges, and birds use that to navigate and migrate north to south and south to north according to the food sources. And of course, California native plants are one of those big food and habitat sources. So Flora, what plants do you have for us today?
Well, I just wanted to show the toyon that is in our sales yard, just to dovetail with Erin's opening, and just let you know about the reward that you will get from what she showed you with the really full berries on them and the white flowers that happen during the summer. So they start small, but as we tell everybody, patience is bliss. And this will eventually grow into that form that Erin just showed you at the beginning. This is also one of my favorites. I just saw on one of the chat from Snowdy that this has been now designated as a protective plant for the city of Los Angeles. That is wonderful to hear. I just love Toyon. I will also speak to it where you can find this in our sales yard as a specimen. When you walk right into the desert section, there is a huge one that is in our east sales yard. The berries are all full. The birds are all in there. And then I will also want to mention to you that there is a cousin form of this called Heteromeles arbustifolia Davis Gold, and does also a beautiful gold berry, which I'm sure that attracts many, many birds. Then I'm going to move over to a buckwheat, going through some of our guests' notes. She had mentioned a California buckwheat. I pulled this one out of the sales yard. This is Eriogonum giganteum, or St. Catherine's lace. And I think it really lives up to its name about its laciness of its flower form, and even the leaf form too as well. A broader leaf, silver gray, just wonderful. I think it also, in its description of giganteum, it is one of our tallest buckwheat. It is an island buckwheat. I always like to measure this one because it's actually about my height, about 5 feet tall. And I actually go into my own backyard where I have one, and I'm actually at the same height as my giganteum in my backyard. So just a wonderful buckwheat, and obviously a wonderful use by our birds, either for nest material or for food too. I'm going to just bring over a couple more. Just to mention that the two that I just first talked about are evergreen. So if you're leaning towards that way, those are two options. But I do want to mention plants that are deciduous, which is also on Day's plant list. But this is our sycamore, and a beautiful one. If you've been in our sales yard, I think one of the most beautiful ones that we have is in front of our sales booth. It is fully mature, gets to its range that we say, sorry, I'm going to just check our tag here. It can get up to 30 to 80 feet. And since then, Theodore Payne around our area in the back behind our headquarters, we are actually graced with a couple more beautiful ones right behind our headquarters, and then right behind this education center that I am in. One of the things though that I learned early on when I first came here was when we were cleaning up and raking the leaf matter. It does have a flannel buzz to it that in my first 2 years of cleaning up this plant would cause me a rash. But I somehow overcame it, and I still now can clean up sycamores with no problem. And I just love this plant. Oops, sorry.
All right, keep moving. Flap your wings like a bird.
Sorry, back here. Okay.
Motion sensor lights.
Yeah.
One of my other things just about, I love the selection that Day has with all of her plants, and this one in particular, I'm really into leaf and leaf form, and I just love the way that the sycamore, for me, has this kind of a hand, you know, the pointedness of the leaves. Leaves are always so important to recognize with native plants. And then we come to the alder, which is also another tree that does go deciduous. This is the white alder, or the Alnus, I'm going to mess it up, rhinifolia. And I was mentioning some things about this to other people. It does go deciduous, has a beautiful bud right into it right now. I'll bring it up a little bit closer. It's just so wonderful. I used to teach a program with the Armory Center for the Arts called Children Investigate the Environment down by JTL. And one of the most interesting things about this is also the trunk. Not only does it does that white kind of wash, but the forms, or where the indentations of the branching are, it forms an A. And we were working with children in elementary and school level, and just trying to use that as a way to remember the name of the plant. So I always go look for the A on the ulnuses whenever I go down to that side of the creek. What a wonderful plant. And can never do poppy hour, at least in my portion, without the Quercus agafolia, the coast live oak. But I love this tree. It's obviously something that I wish we could plant more of or have more of in our landscape. And talk about a really fun leaf. I really love the spikiness of this tree and on their leaves and on their margin. And I probably now I'm repeating myself from my last two poppy hours, but we in the sales yard fortunately have two very fully mature Quercus agafolias that grace or bookend each of our sales yard. And it's just wonderful to see them. I planted a tree band one in my backyard. It survived the 3 cycles of heat waves that we went through this summer. Going to continue to try to get that plant established. They have a very long taproot and obviously a protected plant for the city of Los Angeles. So I'm looking forward to today's session today and learning more about how birds use all of these plants here. How's that?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Flora. The plants that Day chose and that you were kind enough to bring out to us show a variety of habitats. And I'm hoping that Day talks about how the birds use each one of these plants, including that fuzz that got to your skin, Flora, because that's very interesting. And so let's go ahead and get started officially now. We'd like to recognize that Theodore Payne is in the village of Huicagna, home to the Fernandeño, I always screw that up, I'm sorry, Fernandeño band of Tatavian Indians. You can find all full land acknowledgement with links to the Tatavian Land Conservancy and the educational center that they run. And so we acknowledge the wonderful place where we sit. Now, let's get to Day. Day is a California naturalist. She has experience with shorebirds, mostly, if I'm not mistaken. And she has a very interesting story on how she got to really love birds. So Day, it's the floor is yours. Take it away.
Oh, I think you're on mute.
I was mute. As Brenda said, my name is Day. I spent at least a decade in California, and that's when I fell in love with basically nature. Today for this presentation, I am representing, of course, a human being, a Black woman, and a naturalist who I am not. I am not a scientist, and I am not an expert. So my talk will just basically come from my experiences.
Wonderful.
Thanks. So we're gonna break the ice a little bit with everyone. We can't see you all, but I can see the panelists. So we're gonna do an icebreaker. And what the icebreaker is gonna be is everyone can participate. You can act like a baby bird coming out of its nest. You can flap your wings like a bird. You can make a sound that a bird would make, or you can hop like a bird. So on a count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
I sounded like a raven.
Well, I was trying to do a baby bird, but I think I'm too tall for you guys to see what I was doing.
Act like a baby bird being fed.
Yeah, I was not dancing. So as Flora showed you some of the native plants we're going to talk about, that the native plants play a very important role in our ecosystems, and they support our native wildlife. And we kind of all know some stories about habitat destruction and how a lot of not just birds but native animals are suffering because of the habitat being destroyed. So we're going to talk about some of the things that native plants in California do for birds. Can we start the PowerPoint?
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen and just let me know when you want me to move
You can
forward.
go right to, whoa.
Do you want me to start from the beginning, or
California sycamore?
California sycamore?
Yes, it's, I'm sorry. The first bird, go up. The first time you can see color, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go to play, so we see the full screen.
Okay, so Flora showed us the California sycamore. And of course, the things I'm gonna tell you about, it's so much. It's so many birds that are attracted to so many shrubs and plants and trees. I just narrowed it down so we can see some of the things that the native birds go to native plants specifically for. So for the California sycamore, it provides the fuzz for Allen's hummingbird nests, and that is an Allen's hummingbird. If we scroll down to the next screen, Flora was also talking about oaks, and the birds like the white-breasted nuthatch and the red-breasted nuthatch, they love going on oaks because they look for the bark insects. The next native plant is the white alder, and birds like pine siskin, who I nicknamed Piney.
Is this the one that you were feeding on your hand?
Yes, and
Okay.
I think I have a picture of that. But this bird showed up in my yard and just stayed for about 2 weeks, and it definitely was a baby because it just came in my hand to start feeding. I don't have a white alder in my backyard, but they love this native plant in California. They can get seeds from that plant. Toyon is another plant. I think the nickname is Christmas berry.
Yeah.
And a lot of birds like Toyon, especially birds that like berries. But for this one, the American robin, I represent it for loving Toyon. The last plant that I'm going to talk about is buckwheat. So there are several parts of the buckwheat that can be eaten by the birds, but the house finches and some of the other birds, they love the leaves of the buckwheat. This house finch also was in my yard. Most of my pictures are from my backyard. I am trying to create some type of bird sanctuary in Wyoming. So far, so good. You can advance.
Oh,
the next
sorry.
slide. Yeah. So Flora talked about some of the native plants and trees, and I showed you some of the birds that like those trees specifically. I'm gonna jump right into my birding toolkit. I love birding. So I guess I should tell them the story, right, Brenda?
How did you get started, Day?
Hold on, I have to drink water first. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. And I also want to hear about how different Wyoming is from California.
Oh my, that's another webinar.
Oh, okay.
That's big. So I'm gonna go a little bit back. So I am a tech person. That's where my education comes from, technical writing and communication. And I worked for MySpace. That's who basically relocated me from Michigan, was MySpace. And Facebook took over MySpace. So we got these big packages, we got laid off. And that summer I decided to join a hiking group, and we hiked at Eaton Canyon. And you know, when I growing up, my mom, I mean, we had camp. We used to make berry pies out of Frisbees. Like, we did all the nature type of stuff. So I had nature like as a foundation, but I never thought about it past, I just like to go outside and I like nature. I never thought about it for education or anything because I didn't see that growing up. I never heard of a naturalist, or the closest thing to like biology was my biology teacher in high school. So I just was unaware of environmental education overall. So once I joined the hiking club, we went to Eaton Canyon, and they had a sign up that said some type of training, trained to be a naturalist. And I went in there and inquired, got accepted in that program. And then I completely fell in love with California native plants. I was not interested in any bird ever. All I wanted to do is learn all the plants, And I even went to the University of California certification program, UCalNet, I think that's what it is. And we got the California Naturalist certification, and that was actually done at Eaton Canyon as well. So Eaton Canyon became my favorite place. I remember just like the first few weeks, I didn't know any of the plants. And to pass the test for the California Naturalist, I think we had to know at least 50 or be able to identify them. And that's when my photography started. I was using photography as an ID. So I would go to Eaton Canyon, just take my time, try to just be one with the plant, take pictures, go home, look up the pictures, and doing the ID. If I saw a bird go by, I did not care what it was. I just wanted it to move out the way so I can identify the tree. And then my next love there was reptiles. I just wanted to do snakes, anything on the ground. That's what I wanted to study. And then after a few years, I was working at the Bayona wetlands, which I missed so bad. I was there about 5 years. And then I was the manager of environmental education. And that's when I first started noticing birds, because it is the Bayona wetlands. It is a bird sanctuary. Just the egrets and the herons, you cannot miss those birds at the Bayona wetlands. So even then, I was not necessarily taking pictures of birds, but just of nature in general. Fast forward a little bit, I came to Wyoming to take a wilderness medicine course, and I ended up staying in Wyoming. Wyoming is absolutely beautiful. And the attraction,
Okay, sorry, Dave.
the attraction was the public land. You know, in California, I used to spend an hour and a half trying to get to Eaton Canyon, or really anywhere. And you spend so much time in traffic. In Wyoming, everything was right there for me. So I ended up staying in Wyoming, had this whole plan, professional development, and all these things that I had lined up for myself. And what happened after being in Wyoming a year, I got into a really bad accident. I had a vehicular collision with a herd of pronghorn. With a herd of pronghorn. And it basically just turned my entire life around. And I couldn't do much. I had to, my speech was not good. My walk was not good. And it's been about a year and a half, and I'm so much better now, but there are just some things that, haven't clicked back. But what was going on is I still love nature. I couldn't walk that far. I started noticing birds. And in Wyoming, you're not going to see all the little animals that you would see in California, or even the insects, but you do see birds. I started noticing birds, and they just became part of my healing journey. My backyard is pretty much set up for like a bird sanctuary. So I started noticing birds in a different way, noticing their behaviors. And just, I don't know, it was just doing something to me in my head. It was bringing me joy. So that's basically what it was doing. Bringing me joy out of a really, really bad situation and a long recovery. And I started photographing the birds, and it was just like probably in my life, my second aha moment, as I love being outdoors and I love everything wildlife. I was a California naturalist, but I didn't have a specific thing that I love. And all of a sudden I did. So I started birding, and the wildlife photography just like took off. And I had an Instagram page, and I was using that as a birding or a bird wildlife repository, basically. Let's see what else happened.
I want you to talk to compare. Wyoming to California? Because I know that when we have our conversations, we talk about the plant diversity. So,
Right.
so talk about that a little bit.
Well, in Wyoming, it feels like, or what I've seen, it's a lot of sage step. So it's like a very different type of habitat here. And I am right, basically at the foothills, kind of like how Pasadena is at Eaton Canyon. I'm at the foothill of the Wind River. Is it called the Winds? Yeah, the Winds. And I'm very close to a place called Eaton Canyon. And one thing I noticed is that out of all the different types of wildlife to see, I was just seeing birds. You get the big animals here. So you get the moose and the bison, and you do get wolves and things like that. But it just seems like the birds are just more active than those animals, or in my particular area. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. You know, we were talking about how the plant diversity leads to the animal diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when you were talking about there's only 3 flowers to take pictures of.
Oh, yeah. And it's so bad because I don't even know the names of them. So yeah, I will
There's
go back.
only 3 days.
Right. I'll go back a little bit. So, you know, if in case you guys don't know, most of the year Wyoming is winter. No matter what the season it's supposed to be. We get snow starting in September all the way to June. So that was one problem. Being a naturalist in Wyoming may not have worked for me for all seasons. Sorry.
Because it's cold and it's winter.
Well, when I decided to stay in Wyoming, I did not look at the climate in any way. I was shocked when it snowed this September 15th. So yeah, I think when I moved to Wyoming, I decided that I was only a seasonal naturalist now, since you couldn't really get around. But one thing I noticed is that even if it's winter here, which is almost all year, there are a lot of birds. The birds always are there. And I was seeing a more variety of birds. So like when I was in California, because I worked at Bayona Wetlands and it was basically my backyard, I was very, very familiar with shorebirds. So of course in Wyoming, it's a little different because we do get shorebirds during migration, but you don't have access to them like you do in California. So all of my birder friends are so excited when there's a bird at the water treatment plant, things like that. And I'm like, I got that in California. So it's pretty nice to not have to concentrate on shorebirds in Wyoming. I'm mostly concentrate on backyard birds and birds I can find in more of a forest type of habitat.
Okay. I know you mentioned that you were jealous of California birders.
I am so jealous now because when I was in California, and you know what? It's too bad for me that I did not love birds when I was in California. Because now I'm just like, now I do have a lot of pictures when I go through my catalogs. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even know I've ever saw that bird before because I didn't know about eBird. And I don't know how I worked at the Bayona Wetlands and did not know about eBird.
Wait, what's eBird?
eBird.
eBird is from eBird and Merlin ideas from Cornell University. And these are apps that I have on my phone, and probably most birders who are under 60 maybe. I mean, to be honest, I'm the youngest one in my birding group here in Wyoming, and in California, pretty much the same. But yeah.
All right.
Gotcha.
Pretty good. You go back to the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for taking me on that journey, because that was just nice to think about.
Yeah, well, this is a conversation. This is we
Yeah.
want to learn about Day, and we want to learn how to bird from Day.
Yeah.
So Day, if we were going to start birding, what would we need?
There is so much to me. We will not be able to cover that here, but
Okay.
I'll just show you some things for birding. So for me, of course, I have my binoculars, and I do support local. So there's a company called Maven And I believe their website is mavenbuilt.com, but this is local to my neighborhood in Wyoming. And so I use Maven binocs when I go birding. Also, I always have my bird book in the car with me because that's one thing about birding. I know all birders do things differently, but I'm so excited to get back in my car and sit in whatever parking lot I'm in to try to find.
Because it's warm? Because it's warm in your car?
Yep, that is it. That I also have usually carry a little notebook. And so for the notebook, I mainly use my notebook for birds that that I don't know what they are, but I have enough detail that I can write in my book. I may not have been able to take a picture of the bird. You also can write things like temperature and habitat. So when you go back, putting all the details you can in a notebook is good. I also have my cell phone, and you guys, you know what a cell phone looks like, of course. But I have eBird. You probably can't see that. So eBird is from the Cornell lab, and this is where I log all the bird species that I see when I'm birding. And there's also an app called Merlin Bird ID. If you don't know what a bird is, you can go to start a bird ID, and they'll take you to like, what size was the bird? What color was the bird? What habitat were you in? And if you put in the right elements, it will give you a list of birds that will, like, this may be your bird kind of thing. I also carry a camera. Every picture you see in my presentation is taken from that camera, which is a point and shoot. So I don't have fancy stuff right now. You don't need fancy stuff to get great pictures or to be a birder or things like that. Let's see. I do not carry.
I'm sorry. One of the questions that just came up was, what power binoculars do you have? What number? Was that the question? What strength?
These are 8x30. So Maven carries a whole line of binoculars. I choose compact binoculars because I'm always carrying a camera with me. Also, I don't have a scope because I don't know how I would carry binocular, scope, and a camera. And my priority is the camera and then the binoc. So I kind of miss out on a lot of shorebirds in Wyoming because they're really not accessible, and you need a scope to see a lot of those birds. But I'm okay because I have most of them anyway from California, which is cool. Let's see. Oh, can you guys, so for the participants and the panelists, can you guys jump in chat and maybe tell me some of the things you take in your birding toolkit if you go birding? And then we'll start maybe talking about those.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share so that we can see. Oops, new share, stop share. I will plug a cute little, I actually bought this for myself for Christmas. Oops, and I don't wanna share. Now what's happening? Oh, this book,
journal,
birding notebook, and you can write in here.
That is so fancy.
I know, it's very fancy.
Did you get that here at the foundation?
Yes,
okay,
yes, it's in our gift shop.
It's fancy. Okay.
I know. Look at that.
That's so nice. I like. Oh, Snowy Dodson said, I always take an experienced birder with me. You know, I was going to mention that. I'm actually at a friend's house right now, and she is an ornithologist. She's not here right now, and she may pop in, but I was going to put that on my birding list. You could, if you just grab an ornithologist and you're all set. It is amazing having an ornithologist to just communicate with on a daily basis. And I think I'm going to kind of move the slides around since we talk about having a ornithologist. So
you're going to open the slides again?
You don't have to right this second.
Okay.
Yeah, no, actually you can. That sounds good.
And Bird, someone else asked about your camera and lens.
Oh, this is a Panasonic Lumix. This point and shoot is, and it is a, oops. I have no idea. I am so sorry. It's a Panasonic Lumix. It's a point and shoot. I think it's, you know what, it may be like a F300. And I really do recommend that camera. It has a zoom lens on it. It's pretty good. I'm ready to upgrade, of course, but this camera, I've shot some amazing photos. Erin, you can go to the how can you help birders like me, since we're kind of talking about birding.
Backyard birds.
For just a little bit, and then we'll go back to birds.
This one?
Nope. It's how you can help birders.
Oh, how you can help birds, how you can help birders.
Forward.
That
Yeah.
one. Yay.
That one. So I think most of you are familiar with the situation that happened in New York at the Central Park. And that really affected me in Wyoming. I think it would affect me anywhere, but and I think it just brought up a lot of things that has happened to me as a Black woman, as a Black person, being in wildlife and just the things, like a lot of disrespectful things that have happened to me. And it's uncomfortable. And I said I wasn't gonna talk about this, but I need to talk about it. So I just wrote down some things that you can do if you're a birder and you don't look like me, right? How can you help birders like me? First of all, be open to birders that don't look like you. I know in my journey in nature, there are not too many people with darker skin in a lot of fields to do with the environment, but so I'm used to that already. Be kind to people. And you know, this is just basic human stuff, first of all, being kind to people, but like be inviting. I always feel like an outsider because I don't look like somebody else. And if I don't feel like you're being nice or you're inviting me, it just feels weird when people are not inviting. Be willing to share knowledge. I think this is a really, really big one. And sometimes this has nothing to do with like color or anything. I know some birders who have been birding forever, and like in Wyoming, they will see a rare bird and then they won't say anything, or they won't tell people. And then they'll post it on eBird like a week later. And so I've run across that a lot. A lot of people, they just don't share. Birding is not a competition. And I don't know if you guys saw the movie Big Year with Jack Black. I suggest you go watch it. It was pretty good. It's pretty exaggerated, but I have experienced that as a birder. Like the competition, it's not a competition. But yeah, just be willing to share knowledge. And then one big thing is mentor new birders. I am not a new birder, but I am nowhere near an expert level. So I still need mentoring, but I thought it would have been nice if someone would have, you know, kind of like taken me under, knowing that I love birds. I would have appreciated that. Of course, I don't have a problem now with that because people come to me when they have questions, which I do not have the answers to everything, but it just makes me more hungry to know more about birds. I wrote a piece for the Audubon, and you can find it on my website, and it's about race and birding. So when you have a chance, read that, take it all in, and I would like to, if anyone wants to have a conversation about it, you know, we can do that. But we definitely need to move forward as a human race and just be kind to everybody. We need each other to survive. We all need each other. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Day.
Mm-hmm.
You got me into birding, so I consider you a mentor, definitely, because you know I think birds are creepy.
I know.
But you made me like them. You made them. You gave them traits that I didn't see, and I wouldn't have seen unless someone pointed them out. So I thank you for that. So you want to go back and talk about the winter birds?
Yeah, and I want to talk Jill. Jill, my name is Day Scott. I'm just looking at the chat.
We can share
Okay.
your website in the chat too,
Oh,
Jay.
here.
I'm
Yep.
going to stop the share again and I'll pop
Okay.
that in the chat.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about, well, not really talk about backyard birds, but these are some birds that you guys might be seeing, no matter where you are. American goldfinches, pine siskins, tree sparrows, dark-eyed juncos, purple finches, downy woodpeckers, northern cardinals, cedar waxwings, great horned owls, and sharp-shinned hawks. If you guys can jump in chat and tell me things that you may be seeing wherever you are right now, that'll be great. I know right now in my yard, I'm not seeing too much because, you know, we're done with fall migration and I live in Wyoming. So I'm mainly seeing a lot of house sparrows, house finches, starlings. I think I still have a red-breasted nuthatch hanging around. Downy woodpecker, northern flicker. Let's see, what else am I seeing? Oh, Eurasian collared doves are in my yard right now. And oh yeah, California mourning doves, great horned owls are talking. That is correct. I started hearing them about a month ago. Yep, goldfinches, house finches, dark-eyed. Yeah, I think a lot of us are seeing some of the same birds all around the US right now in the winter. We can also quickly talk about what I'm feeding my birds right now. So I've put away the mixed bird seed and the thistle or Niger seed. Now I just mostly have out suet, and I have the suet cakes, and there are also suet nuggets out. And the birds seem to be enjoying that. I also still have out my black oil sunflower seeds for my birds. I have a bird bath, and someone just shared with me that there's a heater that I can get for it, and it's not that expensive. So I'm going to do that because basically my birds are just ice skating on the bird bath right now, which is pretty funny. Let's see. Alice is seeing the California towhee. Anne is seeing doves, crows, hawks, a lot of small birds. I can't tell what they are. I definitely can understand that. Yellow dumped warblers in LA. I'm thinking yellow rumped probably. A gray heron, Cooper's hawk, mockingbirds, black phoebe. Yeah, this is great. Zone-tailed hawk. I'm not even sure what that is, but I'm definitely gonna look that one up.
So Dave, we're getting a lot of requests for your bird pics.
Oh, you want to see some pictures?
I do. We want to see your bird pictures.
In my calendar?
Yeah, we'll share that. Share your calendar.
Okay, so we're jumping ahead because maybe we're running out of time, obviously. This is literally not a sale pitch because I have to close this calendar ordering down twice already. So there's a calendar. It's called Talk Birdie to Be with the funniest American robin on the front of it. Let's see what else I have.
Are there still calendars available, Day? Or you said they're sold out?
Well, I opened the form again. So you can order a calendar. This is the Northern Saw-whet Owl that was on the Discovery Channel. So if you go to Discovery's, any of their social media sites, they featured this bird somewhere in July. Also, the lazuli bunting. This one was
That little bird.
BBC America. And it was just great. These are probably the two favorite pictures that I have. If you're interested in the calendar, I'm just going to show a few more photos. So the cool thing about this calendar is that it has birds from California and Wyoming. So when you get it, you'll definitely be familiar with some of the birds. Let's see. Oh, should I do bird stories now?
Do your bird stories, yeah.
Or should I do, yeah.
Okay, let me put up your, you have a slide for that one, right?
Yeah, and it's just a picture of what I'm going to be talking about. And
Okay.
let me pull it up.
People are excited about the bird pictures. We're getting requests.
sorry. I'm so slow. Where did Zoom go?
That's okay. That's okay. Take your time. Bert has really
Okay,
good
well, if you
bird
guys
stories.
want to listen and look, you can get on my Instagram now. The Wilderness Goddess. That's on Instagram. And you can find the bird story that I'm about to tell you on my Instagram. Again, Instagram is the Wilderness Goddess. So just a little background before I start my story. I am a writer, I am a photographer, and I love birds. So somehow those three things got together and married for me. And I started creating these really fun ways to remember birds. So the first one I'm going to do is the cedar waxwing. And here is the bird story. Coming in with a blood alcohol content excessively over the legal limit is the cedar waxwing. These fancy frugivores' life goals include consuming as many fruits and berries as possible, getting inebriated, attracting a mate by dancing and offering gifts, and avoiding a FUI, flying under the influence incident. They come equipped with very large livers to accommodate their massive sugar intake. The bright red waxy coloring on the feather tips is what gives them the waxwing designation. They are considered polite birds as they will pass down fruit to one another when feeding. These boozy bandits are known for getting fermented fruit wasted and falling out of trees by the dozen due to intoxication. These saucy songbirds are only found in North America and are year-round residents in some regions. Pound buzzbirds. So that's the cedar wax.
Boozy bandit. Can you imagine just sitting by a toyon and watching the cedar waxwings just fall out of the tree because they're drunk?
They're definitely the birds that you want to party with. Invite them over for the holidays. The second one I'm going to do is the loggerhead shrike, and this picture I did take in California. And here we go. Meet the songbird that's known for snapping necks, cracking skulls, and cutting through spinal cords and screwing prey. Standing robin sides and equipped with the Leatherman tool-like, which is with their terminal teeth, bill, the loggerhead shrike is not here for games. Well, maybe the avian Hunger Games.
Oh my gosh.
This baleful bandit impales his victims onto sharp objects, using them as anchors to rip them apart or even capture later. Though loggerhead shrike populations have been declining for decades, you can still find these honorary raptors very common in some North American regions. They are affectionately known as the butcher bird, pound songbirds that kill.
Oh my gosh.
So my Instagram is basically filled with birds and stories that go with them.
Yeah. Is that a Laria tridentata that it's on? Great Basin sagebrush? I can't see.
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I took this in Cabrillo.
Okay.
Yeah, Cabrillo. So those are my bird stories. It takes so long to create, but people really respond well to them because I say things that you can remember and they're pretty funny. I'm not a comedian at all, but I don't know. I love birds and I love looking at them and describing them. And I don't know, they just bring me joy. Brenda, do I have a little bit more time left?
Oh yeah, you have 12 minutes before we start into Q&A.
We can do this in 12 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, there's a slide called How You Can Help Birds. Aaron, it's probably before the slide we were on. So there are a lot of ways we can help birds during migration. You can help birds with the type of food you put in the yard. Also, I think Audubon has the Lights Out initiative. And they'll do that sometimes if you look at a wind map and they'll tell you when, because of the wind, there may be a fallout or something. You can participate in the Lights Out initiative if the birds are coming through your area. Attracting backyard birds. This is all year during migration. Of course, native plants, right? They really need the native plants. Where I live, I don't have access to native plants. I live in Wyoming, so we don't have access to a lot of things, honestly. So You kind of have to rely on whatever's already growing or just non-native plants. Feeders, I think I already talked about feeders, what I'm feeding my birds now that it's winter in Wyoming. And then water sources, you want to keep the water fresh. Also, you can help birds by connecting with an organization or club like Audubon, Bird Conservancy of the Rockies. That's for me, but different bird organizations in California participate in some of the initiatives like Lights Out initiative. Let's see.
And Day, why is the lights out? And just for people who are totally new to this, why is that important?
Out, it's pretty much a distraction for the birds while they're trying to migrate at night. And you want them to just be able to go through because probably not a lot of resources when it's darker at night. So they ask a lot of people to turn off, house lights, but really building lights.
Okay.
That I'm pretty sure Las Vegas is not participating in that initiative. Yeah.
We'll write a letter to them.
Right. Also, donate. It's not just about money. You can donate supplies. If you have a pair of old binoculars that you're not using, I know a few programs who would love them because they can provide binoculars a lot of times to young people who want to get into birding. You can donate. You can donate supplies and money. Also, you can spread the word. Anything that you learn and you know it's good and it's valid, the best thing is to tell somebody else. Get inside your community and share about the birds. I noticed when I worked at the Bayona Wetlands, and we saw about 7,000 kids a year, I think, as a field trip. And the kids always say, "Oh, Dave, this is the best time I've ever had." And they used to literally say things like, "I won't kick cats anymore. And I won't do these things to animals," because if you show the kids or show anyway, so spread knowledge. And let's talk about the Christmas bird count. So the Christmas bird count already started. Maybe not in your neighborhood, but in general, it started on December 14th and it's going to January the 5th. So you can hop on Audubon's website to see where there may be a bird count in your area. And this is also the 121st year of the Christmas bird count. So this is great. And if you don't know about the Christmas bird count, basically it provides information to scientists to determine population declines and increases. So it's a really good thing.
Someone's asking for that list of the 10 birds that you had. We've had a request for that. It was a slide.
Okay. Oh, they want me to speak it, or they're
well, we want to see
copy of it.
Let me see this list.
Mm-hmm.
10 winter backyard birds.
And these are common birds that we'll see in California?
Well, this is just, I tried to include birds from all over the U.S. that are more winter. I think people were on chat saying things that they are saying. So you are going to see more than this, but these are some basic birds. And you can really tell, you can see this dark-eyed junco, how plump he is. He's definitely a winter bird. He's probably a COVID-10 bird when we were all talking about the weight that we gained from COVID initially. I think that was him. Let's see what else I have. I think I talked about everything. Aaron, can you jump to the page that says Wilderness Goddess? It's almost at the end.
Yes. Let's see. That's a calendar.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. So that's my website. It is a brand new website. So there's a bio and features and pictures. It's already live, but it'll have it be officially live on January 1st, which I will do my first bird story for 2021. And I do not know what bird I'm using, but I promise you I'll make it good and funny. Also on my website, it is access to features like the Audubon feature. I'm not sure the NPR feature is on there, but a lot of the connections I've been doing with local organizations and birding, or just race and birding, anything. Most of it is to do with birding. You can see most of my photography on the Instagram. So once you go to the website, there are buttons for Instagram and Facebook. My calendar is available again. I'm going to leave the order form open probably for about 2 more weeks, and I'll ship out the second week in January. So Christmas deliveries are sold out already.
Yeah, and your website has a gallery of some of the pictures in your calendar, right?
Yeah, it's like a slideshow when you go to the webpage, but the most photos right now, you can see them on Instagram. Next year sometime, I'll open up a store to start selling prints and some type of repository, probably on my website, and then my blog. I'll start the blog, which will be mostly bird stories on my website. I have one last thing to say. I want to thank the Theodore Payne Foundation for having me. Brenda, thank you so much for this opportunity. I was so nervous.
Why are you nervous? You know what you're talking about.
It was easy, like you said. The last thing I want to leave with you all is something that I created for the Wyoming Wildlife Federation when teaching a nature photography class to kids. So they're birding tips, but they're also just photography tips, or they're just things like you can think like a bird. Okay, I'm going to read them now. Go out near sunrise like the mallard duck. Be as quiet as the great horned owl. Creep like the great blue heron. Go zigzag like the Wilson snipe. Blend in like the common nighthawk. Hide out like the sora. Go low like the burrowing owl. Stay focused like a bald eagle. Be patient like the green heron. And be curious like the northern mockingbird.
Oh, that's beautiful, Dave. Thank you so much. But that's not the last, because we're going to open it up to Q&A. We'll go to the Q&A session now. One of the first questions we had was, and your bird nerd. Oh, we're going to get your giveaway. Okay.
Here, 1 second. Let me stop the share.
Okay.
Where did the too many screens?
So one of the questions, Day, or comments, was an article from PEO. You're a member of my mother's chapter.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so happy to see you on Happy Hour. And that came from Ann Crawl. Thank you, Ann.
And thank you. I guess I should put that on my my Facebook as a feature. I know my website as a feature, because I am a PEO member. And I was there, I was on the cover in July talking about my traumatic brain injury.
Okay, the next one is for a first-time photographer who wants to learn to capture birds. Any recommendations for what to buy, camera or scope?
For the camera, you don't need anything fancy. So something about $500. I do not know all the camera language, but definitely maybe get something with a super zoom. This is a point and shoot, but I love it. Panasonic Lumix. They've not updated it in about 4 years, but it is still an excellent camera. Sony, Nikon. Most of the cameras are bridge cameras right now, so you can change the lens. For me, being in California and doing a lot of hiking and things like that, that was not an option to me. I actually downgraded so that I can have a more compact camera, because I don't like changing out lenses and all those things, but I will have to do that soon again when I upgrade. More powerful
another question was for a first-time photographer. I think we just did that one. Never mind. What camera and lens would you upgrade to?
Ooh, yeah. So I'm working on, because I've been researching this, and I'm not like with all the photography language, but I have friends that know all about cameras, and we're all like nature photographers. I am waiting for Nikon to update their wildlife camera. I believe it's the Nikon 500. It is an excellent camera, but the technology is already 5 years old. So when I I want to buy my first big camera, I need something that probably came out in the last year because I plan to keep it for at least 5 years. Nikon has come out with something called Generation Z. It's for the young folks. It looks like it's mostly for street photography and things like that. But yeah, I'm looking for Nikon to do the upgrade for the 500. And I'm looking at, I think it's Sony, the Mark, whoever has the Mark IV and the Mark V. Those two cameras are also really good. My plan is to upgrade near by spring migration. And so I have time to wait because I live in Wyoming. And I probably won't find much without being on snowshoes right now.
Okay. Bird, you know that I'm Day, you know that I'm not an experienced birder. So if I was to look at something like the buckwheat, where would I look for birds? I know that that sounds kind of like a dumb question, but when I ask kids, where do you find a bird? You know, I want to hear answers. Where do I find a bird?
Well, it's for buckwheat, since it's a shrub, you would probably find the birds like inside of the buckwheat if they're eating or whatnot. Where to find a bird? Look up. I know it sounds cliche, but some birds' habitat is on fences and power lines and things like that. Also, the understory of a tree or a bush, like birds like the towhees, right? The towhees, you can find them under a tree, under the cover, and then they dance. They do that two-step. I wanted to do a competition, but I didn't know I wasn't going to be able to see everybody. I was going to give away a calendar to someone who could do the towhee two-step.
Do we have anyone brave enough who wants to come on? We can bring someone on.
You can email me. You can do the towhee two-step. I will send you a free calendar. So you know the toys kind of use that forward and backward motion, and it's hilarious to me watching them. Where else can you find a bird? Look up, look down, look in. Birds like creepers and nuthatches, you know, look on the bark. Another way you can find a bird is just be quiet.
Oh.
If you just go outside and just be quiet, turn your senses on, you'll start hearing birds. Sometimes that's all you get is the sound, and you don't actually get to see the bird.
Okay.
But that's also called birding.
Yeah.
What
we have a volunteer to do the dance.
Oh, yay, let's see.
All right, Karen. Scott's gonna put you on.
Somebody's gonna do it.
All right.
We're waiting for Karen. While we're waiting for Karen, Dade, my next question for you is going to be, what California bird do you miss the most, or what's the most exciting bird you've ever seen in California?
Oh, I think I miss the black oyster catchers. I miss the great blue herons. I miss every bird that's at Bayona Wetlands.
Oh, okay. Well, there's Karen. Okay.
Oh,
let's hear her do the two-step.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Karen, please send me your physical address. I will send you a calendar for doing the total step.
Thank you.
Which I think I just invented that dance, the name of it anyway, the Toy two-step. Thank you, Karen. Oh, I do have someone I want to introduce you guys to. I told you that the best thing to have on your birding toolkit is an ornithologist. So this is my friend. This is Dr. Deb Hurt. She is
Dr. Deb.
Very tall. She's an ornithologist from Cornell, and she's actually in my birding toolkit. So I'm really lucky to have someone like her just to guide me and to just expose me to everything avian.
That's fantastic.
And that's her photography in the background. She's also really good.
Dr. Lee, I have a question for you. What's your favorite thing about Day?
She likes birds as much as I do.
Good answer. Good answer. So we can open up for Q&A. Anybody have questions for Day about birding, birds, California plants? The floor is open.
And also I have a bird mask.
Oh,
You always know I'm a birder.
yeah.
Nice.
And people stop me all the time. I have another called Bird Nerd. I don't know where it is. It was with me before.
You had it
But-
on.
Yeah, this one, when I wear this one, people always stop me and say, well, what is a bird nerd? And I just say, I'm really obsessed with birds, basically. Yeah. Thank you, Karen, for your address. This is great.
Okay. So do we have more questions? Does anybody have a question they'd like to ask? Raise your hand and we'll get to you ASAP.
Oh, Anne has a woodpecker. Oh, someone said upgrading cameras is like upgrading phones. I'm gonna say yes and no. The older I get, the more that I don't care about a phone upgrade. I only upgrade when I'm forced to, basically. Yeah, but it kind of is like a phone upgrade.
Okay. And do you need a macro for landscape?
Not necessarily. No. A macro would be for close-ups, flowers, insects, things like that. My camera has, I mean, this, I really need to talk to Panasonic Lumix about how I promote their equipment. Seriously. This camera is just so good. And I'm pretty sure it's about $300 right now. So you guys should jump on Amazon and get that. It's the Panasonic Lumix. I believe it's the F300.
Okay. So while we're waiting for more questions to come in, let's talk about the Pacific Flyway, how we opened. How is that affecting the birds you see in Wyoming versus the birds you saw in California?
I can't really answer that clearly. I'm in a different flyaway. I'm pretty new to Wyoming, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know I know about more bird diversity in California than Wyoming. So that's something that I'm still learning. Wyoming, I do belong to a birding group. Some of them are ornithologists, some of them are just lifelong birder. So the more time I spend with them, the more I'll learn about things like that.
Okay. Okay. The Eaton Canyon, you mentioned the diversity in plants in California versus the diversity in plants in
Yes, we were talking about that.
Well, somewhere TPF has a map that shows the endemic species per every 10,000 kilograms. I'm sorry, kilometers. Wyoming doesn't have more than, I think, 2 endemic species in the whole state, versus California has 200 species in LA County alone. So how does that affect birding?
That's also something that I'm learning, Brenda, and that's such a good question. I know that like in Wyoming, especially where I live in Lander, and really all over, a lot of the habitat is called sage steppe. So there's like pretty low bushes. You'll get a lot of songbirds, game birds, things like that. But I am learning that, and I'm hopeful to get accepted into the Wyoming Naturalist program that I just heard about. I submitted an application. And so when you have me on again, I'll be able to answer those questions.
Oh, I want to have you on again. I want to see a calendar with California native plants and little birds eating California natives.
We were going to talk about their beaks and the...
I know. I was going to talk about that, but then I wanted to talk about other things too. It's so much. I will say this, next year I'll have multiple calendars. One will be just a wildlife calendar, just with a variety of things, flora and fauna. And then I'll still have a bird calendar, and also take special requests for some calendars next year if you want to see a specific bird or things like that. I have thousands and thousands of pictures in my catalog. And I'll be spending some time over the holidays getting that in order. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about habitat destruction and how what you see that's the same and what you see that's different? California and Wyoming. Not specific habitat, but destruction.
Well, see, Wyoming, somewhere like California has a lot of buildings, right? Mm-hmm. And they're always just trying to make room for more humans all the time. And that's definitely taken space away from native birds, native plants, and things like that. Wyoming is a little different. You come to Wyoming and there are more animals than people. And that is the truth in Wyoming. There's just a lot of land, and I'm not aware of too much habitat destruction in Wyoming, though I know that's a big oil state and things like that. Where I live, all I see is landscape, sage steppe, and things like that. The other thing we don't have too many of is wildfires. We have some, but not like California.
What is sage steppe? Is that comparable to sage scrub?
It's sort of like that, the sage steppe. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to learning. Now that I decided to stay in Wyoming for a while, especially while I'm still healing from the brain injury, it's very quiet here. So that's why I'm decided not to move back to California or anything. Everything, I got a lot of therapy and things to take care of here. And so while I'm here, I'm going to get involved with the University of Wyoming's Naturalist program. And just so I can learn more about it. I'm not as hands-on in Wyoming because, like I said before, it's winter most of the year.
I feel you. So a question that we had that was in the chat, what corvids do you have?
We have crows.
So for the people that in our audience that may not know what a corvid is, can you give us a rough definition?
It's come from the Corvidae family, very intelligent birds. So you have your black-billed magpie here. In California, you also have the yellow-billed magpie. All of your jays are in the corvid family. What is crows? Ravens, those are your corvid family. They are very intelligent. I think in one of my bird stories, I talk about a black-billed magpie, and they actually have like funerals when one of their own dies.
Was that bluebird?
That's the one with that straight tail going across. It's on the Instagram. Okay. And the corvids are very interesting. They're very smart birds, and when I wrote that story, when I write my stories, I don't think you all can see this really. Probably not.
Yeah, we can see it.
That's church bird.
Yeah, that's the black-billed magpie. I love the bird stories. I love learning because the things that I'm learning about birds, you also see those same traits in humans. And so now that I kind of honed in on what I like about nature, which is birds, I think I may want to go a step further into ornithology. And that's the relationship that birds have with humans. And that's directly linked to indigenous people.
Oh, wow. That sounds very
yeah, I'm literally just now knowing about ethno-ornithology. So I am hopefully in 2021 going to start some classes at Cornell. It's going to be a slow process for me, but I'm pretty sure that you know how you kind of figure out your purpose or your purpose in life is to do certain things. I'm pretty sure birds is it for me. And I just want to learn as much as I can.
Okay. So we have a really good question. Doug Tallamy talks about plants for butterflies and moths because the caterpillars are food for birds.
Mhm.
Is that more important than berry producing plants?
Hold on, let me read that again.
So basically it's asking, if protein is more important than the fruits and seeds.
So Dr. Hurt is right here,
Yes.
mouthing something to me. It's nice to have an ornithologist in my bird kit, so she will answer that.
Protein is extremely important, especially during the breeding season, because what happens is we're in a big rush to raise the young, so we feed them protein. And what that does, same thing like a human baby. The more protein they get, the faster they grow and the stronger they are.
You guys get yourself an ornithologist. I'm telling you.
We do. Thank you so much.
It's better than an iPhone. It's better than a camera. Better than a bird
I would
book.
wear that T-shirt.
Yeah. If you want to borrow her, we can arrange that too.
Okay. Any more audience any more audience questions? We had someone.
Somebody said something about dancing skills. Elaine, what do you mean the dancing skills? For corvids? My dancing skills? I don't know what she means dancing skills.
Bird dancing skills.
Bird dancing skills. So I would like to invite you out to Wyoming.
All
Anytime
right.
you want to come. You probably don't want to come between September and June, or you may not be able to get back home. We have a very small regional airport. Wyoming shuts down roads quickly, and we have these signs on the road, and it says, if the lights are flashing, turn back and go to the nearest city. It's pretty funny, but it's not funny when it happens. But I would love if you come to Wyoming. It would be nice to have company sometimes. People don't really want to come to Wyoming. They want to go to Yellowstone. They want to go to Jackson Hole, but that's about it. But if anyone comes here, I would love to be your personal tour guide to Wyoming.
Oh,
We can go
thank
two-step and we
you.
can do the Tohei two-step.
The Toy two-step, yeah. Thank you, Karen. Again, I will be sending you a calendar. Well, if you guys have any more questions for me after this session, on my website, you'll find a contact form for me. Also, my email is also thewildernessgoddess@gmail.com. Instagram is The Wilderness Goddess. Facebook is The Wilderness Goddess. You can find me mostly anywhere.
Yeah, and
So
we have all of those links on the Zoom invite. Someone was here from Georgia. Am I right? Who's here from Georgia?
Not with me. Georgia?
Georgia.
I don't know.
I saw it. I saw it in chat. Oh, okay.
Chapter letters and not a state. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about stuff like
Chapter,
that.
probably chapter, I guess, GA and PEO language.
Yeah, I don't speak that language.
I'm chapter QB and maybe chapter Q soon in Wyoming.
Oh, okay. All right, we have about 10 minutes. And someone had a question for Flora about their oak leaves turning colors.
Oh, Flora.
They say, oh, so I don't know. I think I missed that question.
It was way at the beginning that their oak tree, the leaves are turning yellow and it's dropping leaves. And I believe it was a Quercus agrifolia.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I actually probably have more questions that I could also take offline, but my initial one would be to ask the person how they're watering the plant. Yellow is a very tricky color on leaves because it could indicate either underwatering or overwatering. And if they wanted to reach out to me, my email is flora, FLORA, @feedorpain.org. And I would love to see some pictures about that. It would maybe hopefully help me narrow down what's happening there. But yeah, whoever that question was from, feel free to email me.
And that's pictures of the top of the leaf and the bottom of the leaf, correct?
Exactly, yeah. And then if you can also let me know how long it's been in the ground and how you're watering the plant, that will also be helpful too.
The next question about watering for succulents in the ground and succulents in pots in the winter.
Oh dear, I just did a container class, sorry to put and so what you're looking at is obviously the container is going to create a border or a limitation for that plant and their roots. And container plants will dry out faster than when it's in the ground. But you can still use your finger or a probe or something to test the moisture of your soil, both in the ground and in your pot. And I was just talking to somebody over the weekend, and you can, with just a touch of your finger, go down into about 2 or 3 inches to your pot, depending on how big it is. And if you're seeing a dryness there, I would also lift the pot up to see if there's any water residue down at the bottom, to see if there's a nice residue there. You probably don't need to water. If it's pretty dry, then you probably need to pass some water through. Again, I can also talk more about that with somebody offline. If you'd like to, email me at Flora, Flora, at theodorepayne.org. Or if you don't mind, I'm going to put in another plug. Doing the class again on January 12th, Scott? Well, it's in
January
January.
9th. I'm going to post a link in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And then another plant question was toyons and 120-degree temperatures. I think I can answer that. We have them here. They get to 120 degrees. They're doing great.
I mean, if we're any indication, like Brenda said, this year we were fortunate. I think the highest that we got was about 110. But if you remember that summer heat wave that we had over 4th of July weekend, we got up to 122. And the east-facing area, that's when the temperature hit that. And a lot of our plants on that east-facing line really got scorched. That toyon that I mentioned early on is one of our really nice specimens. That is on that sideline, and you should see it now. You can't even tell that it went through any kind of heat wave. And even this recent one, it is a very hardy plant, but probably the testament to that is that it's a very well-established plant. And so getting your plants established is very key. So putting another plug in this is the greatest time to plant your plants right at this season.
Okay. From Edna to Flora, is it necessary to use a sunscreen for succulents in the high heat?
So, sorry, I'm going to get the light.
It's the two-step toey.
Sorry about that. So native succulents, different from non-native succulents, they prefer a parched shade situation, and ideally it would be morning sun, afternoon shade, and that's what you're looking for, or a dappled sun situation. That being said, I've also driven up and down the coast. One of my favorite drives is going down the canal grade and seeing the Dudleya on the wall along the canal grade. And as you get closer to cooler temperatures, some Dudleyas can actually take on full sun. And on the property here, we've actually planted some up in what I call the yellow brick road, a lane that goes behind our HQ building. That is a west-facing side. And those Dudleyas that are placed on there actually get hit with a pretty big sun, and especially in our temperature. So it really depends on where you are placing them, but in most situations, they would like a morning sun, afternoon shade, or a dappled sun. Did I answer that question fully? I kind of got distracted from that I'm in the dark here.
Yeah, you're in the dark and the wind picked up. It's getting kind of scary out here. Dave, I know that you are in Oklahoma and you're used to a different time zone, and you start shutting down physically like 2 hours ago. How do you feel? Can you hang with us for 4 more minutes?
Yeah, I'm making sure I just drink some water and I'm sitting, so I'm okay. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, just making sure that you feel all right.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any more plant questions, any more bird questions, any more questions for Day about her experiences at Eaton Canyon. We have time. Do we have any questions from YouTube?
Oh,
Scott?
Karen asked me a question about the canyon. Let's see. I'm going through the messages now.
Yeah, I think we've covered it.
Oh, can I say hi to someone?
Sure.
Hi, Lisa.
After she left like 15 minutes
Okay,
ago.
I'll just text her. I'm just going through all the chat to see people saying things to me.
Lisa Viviani,
Yeah.
former ED at
Former ED, I'm pretty sure she's still on the board. Very active with Biona Wetlands. She was my boss when I was there, and she is one of the people. Lisa is a crazy birder.
but not crazy like psycho. She's crazy.
Birders are psycho sometimes. We do strange things. Birders are strange people. If you know a birder, they're probably strange.
I went owling with a group,
Mhm.
and they were out there in the middle of the night looking for owls dressed in camo with infrared scopes and binoculars. And I felt like I was like pulling off a heist. Right?
Sounds like a birding group to me.
Yes.
I mean, in Wyoming, people will see a rare bird and we'll get it on our little text message, rare bird alert. And they'll go like start climbing dangerous areas to see this bird. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. We will risk our lives driving, trying to look at birds driving. It's pretty bad. But birds are also some of the best people. Yeah.
What other animals besides birds are you into?
Oh, the herd that I ran into, those were pronghorns.
That's not funny.
No, the sheriff actually said, he said, wow, this is your welcome to Wyoming, that you hit animals. So deer walk up and down the street like dogs or rats, I guess. They are everywhere. So this is all year, you just see deer. They eat all my bird food. So I keep having to think of new ideas on the types of bird foods or the types of feeders that I have. There's nothing I can do to keep squirrels out. Mm-hmm. I mean, they just do acrobats. They do everything on your feeders. And so I just buy a little extra food so I can feed the squirrels too.
Do you have
I smell a lot of skunks, but I don't see skunks, but they're here.
Okay. Ground squirrels or tree squirrels?
Ground squirrels. Pheasants run around all day. They're pretty beautiful color game birds. And people actually, I mean, they are game birds. So people shoot them and they eat them. But I just photograph them, that type of shooting. Yeah. Buffalo. There was a moose in town not too long ago, which is really pretty dangerous.
They're big. Okay, so from YouTube, the question was, what bird wowed you the first time you saw it?
The lazuli bunting.
that little round one.
This one right here. This is one of the most popular pictures that I have. This is right in my backyard. And I'm sitting on the stairs in my yard taking this picture.
In California or in
Wyoming?
But we'd be able to see that in California as well, right? It has a limited.
Now, can they see the lazuli button in California? Maybe? Yeah. And I can look at a range map for that. The other bird that wowed me was the northern saw-it owl. Someone told me where it was, and I did a little hiking, and I was just sitting there, and I knew that it was in, kind of tucked away in the hole, and I kind of started making a little bit of noise. I basically trying to mock its call. And then it just peeked out at me. And I sat with it for maybe an hour. And I moved and I did these things. So as I moved, the bird would move. If I put my head up, the bird would put his head up. So I actually felt a special connection. And this is a owlet. The people had told me about an adult saw it, but when I got there, this is what I photographed, and they were pretty excited because they didn't see the owlets, they saw the parent. So yeah, probably feel a special connection with
And
that bird.
the last
And the other one is the pine siskin.
oh,
That's the one that I feed out of my hand.
that's the one.
That's the one I call piney.
Pine.
Yeah.
So in the
Yeah.
last question, are there turkeys?
Wild turkeys, yes. See, Wyoming, people have all these animals in their farms. So there's wild everything in Wyoming.
All right. So if anyone has a chance to go to Day's Instagram page, the picture of Piney just literally eating out of her hand is
That's a video
amazing.
on there.
Yeah, it is amazing. And it is 7 o'clock. Day, thank you so much
Thank you
for
for
joining
having me, Brenda.
us
Thank you,
today.
Erin.
I love your bird pictures, and I learned more about birds today. I want to make sure everyone knows January 28th is our next Poppy Hour. We will have Charles Thomas from Outward Bound Adventures to talk about the garden that they're installing at John Muir High School. And
Great.
Day, you know Charles, we're
Yep.
familiar with Outward Bound.
Yep, I worked with Outward Bound right before I came to Wyoming. Yeah, that's a great program.
Oh, and thank you for everyone saying that we made your day a little bit better, because yes, that's what we're here for. And we are open for in-store shopping. So come in and shop. Thank you.
Come see that toy on.
Bye.
Yeah. Come see that giant toy on. Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much. My love to you. Always,
Thank
always,
you.
always.
Bye.
See everyone.
Um,
Yay. All right.